planet Zerinth was full of light and shadow. Giant towers reached the sky. Ships floated above the cities like glowing birds. But inside the palace, everything felt cold. In the throne room, silence hung like a heavy fog. The great King Orval, ruler of the Zerinthian Empire, lay still on a silver slab. His golden robes were wrapped around him and his crown rested on his chest. Around him, the nobles and warriors stood in silence, their faces hard like stone. And in the middle of them all, a small figure stood alone. Princess Ziri, only 4 feet tall. She looked like a child compared to the towering alien lords beside her. Her silver skin shimmered under the light, and her large violet eyes were wide with fear. She was just 16 Zerinthian cycles old, young by her people's standards. She wore the royal cape, but it dragged behind her like a heavy chain. The nobles whispered among themselves, "She's too small. Too weak, she can't." "Oh, the throne needs strength, not a little girl." Ziri heard them, every word she wanted to speak to prove them wrong, but her voice felt trapped in her throat. At the edge of the room, standing behind a column, was a tall man in black armor. Human. His name was Dane Carter, a guard sent from Earth as part of a peace program. No one really liked humans in the palace. Most Zerinthians saw them as loud, emotional, and primitive. But today, Dane watched closely. His eyes never left the princess. The high priest raised his hand. "We now begin the royal farewell. May King Orval's spirit travel to the stars." The crowd bowed their heads. Ziri stepped forward to place a crystal flower beside her father's body. But just as her hand reached out, a loud snap. The crystal window behind the throne shattered. A sharp beam of red light shot through the air, aiming straight for Ziri's heart. Gasps filled the room. Ziri froze, but before the beam could hit her, a blur of motion knocked her to the side. The red blast hit the floor, burning it black. Ziri looked up, breathless. Dane Carter stood in front of her, his left shoulder smoking from where the beam had grazed him. His pulse rifle was out, his eyes scanning the windows. Another shot came. Dane spun, aimed, and fired. The attacker's rifle fell from the window ledge. A dark figure dropped to the floor outside and vanished into the palace gardens. The guards rushed forward too late. The assassin was gone. Panic broke out in the throne room. Who attacked the princess? Where were the guards? Why didn't anyone stop it? Ziri stood, still shaking. Her eyes met Dane's. "You saved me," she whispered. Dane nodded once. "Always. That's my job." Lord Vexer, a tall noble with red armor and sharp teeth, stepped forward. His voice was deep and cold. "This is a tragedy," he said. "An outsider saves our heir, while our own guards fail." His eyes flicked toward Dane with disgust. "This is what happens when we trust humans with royal duty." Dane didn't respond. His hand stayed near his weapon. Ziri opened her mouth to speak, to defend him, but again the words stuck. Instead, she lowered her head and walked away quietly. Later, in her private chamber, Ziri sat by the window, staring at the stars. She had always loved the stars. They made her feel small, but free. The door opened. Dane stepped in, holding a datapad. "We scanned the blast," he said. "Military-grade tech. Someone powerful sent that assassin." Ziri turned to face him. "Why would someone want to kill me? It was my father's funeral." Dane paused. "Sometimes power makes people greedy. Your father had enemies. Maybe they think you're an easy target." Ziri looked down at her hands. "Maybe they're right." Dane stepped closer. "No, they're wrong. You just need someone to stand by you. Someone you can trust." She looked up at him. "Can I trust you, Dane?" He didn't smile, but his voice was steady. "You already did. I'm still here." But deep inside the palace, someone else was watching. In the shadows of the War Council chamber, Lord Vexer spoke into a communicator. "It failed," he hissed. The human interfered. A voice replied from the other end. Cold, mechanical. "We will try again. The girl must not take the throne. Prepare for phase 2. Vexer's eyes narrowed. The throne will be mine soon. That little creature won't stand in my way. The moon above Zerinth turned blood red that night, a rare sign spoken of only in ancient books. They called it the Hunter's Moon, a time of change, a time of danger. Inside the royal palace, walls of stone and light held secrets deeper than the stars. Princess Ziri stood in front of the mirror, staring at herself. Her silver skin looked pale. Her eyes, once full of dreams, now held shadows. The crown on her head felt like a weight she wasn't ready for. Her fingers trembled. Someone had tried to kill her. At her own father's funeral. She turned away from the mirror, feeling cold. In the corner of her room, Dane Carter stood silently, armored and alert. The human had barely slept since the attack. His arm was bandaged from the laser burn, yet he didn't complain. Didn't rest, he just watched. Like a hawk waiting for another storm. Dane, Ziri said quietly. Why you? He tilted his head. What do you mean? You're not from Zerinth. You're not even part of the Royal Guard. Why were you assigned to protect me, and why now? Dane didn't answer right away. He walked to the window, looking out at the glowing gardens below. Your father requested me, he finally said. A week before he died. Ziri blinked. What? Why? I don't know. But he left a message. Sealed. Said I should only give it to you if something happened. He handed her a small crystal cube, no bigger than a stone. It flickered with blue light. Ziri held it tight. Her father's voice echoed softly from inside the cube. Ziri, if you are hearing this, then I am gone. And you are no longer a child. You are the last hope of Zerinth. Trust no one, not the council, not the nobles. Only Dane. He has seen war. He knows loyalty. Ziri's hand shook. Her father had known something. Maybe even expected an attack. But why? And from who? Far across the palace in the war chamber, Lord Vexer stood before the council. 13 alien nobles sat in tall chairs, their faces hard and angry. We must delay the coronation, Vexer said, his voice smooth and dangerous. The princess is not ready. The people are nervous. There was an attack in the heart of our palace. We must take control before there is chaos. Lady Irix with green flame-like hair frowned. She is the last blood of Orval. The throne is hers by right. Vexer smiled darkly. Yes, but right means nothing if she is dead. If another assassin strikes and succeeds, we will lose not just a ruler, but a future. Murmurs spread around the room. Lord Kren, old, blind, but wise, tapped his hein. And who would lead in her place, Vexer? Vexer bowed. Only until she's ready. I would serve as High Regent, for stability, for peace. His sharp eyes sparkled with ambition. That night, Dane met someone in secret. In the lowest levels of the palace, behind old storage doors and metal tunnels, he found a cloaked figure waiting. Kira, you better have something good, Dane said. Kira pulled down her hood. A female Zerinthian, young and smart, and one of Dane's few allies. I hacked the palace archives like you asked, she whispered. Guess what I found? The assassin used a palace guard uniform to get inside. But that guard port was already listed as dead. Someone is covering tracks, Dane said. Kira nodded. Not just someone. High Council security. They erased footage, changed names. This goes deep. Dane's jaw clenched. Then Ziri's not safe. Not even in the palace. Suddenly the floor trembled. A soft sound, like metal scraping. Kira froze. Did you hear that? Before Dane could speak, the lights went out. Total blackness. Then, a clang, a whisper of movement. A red beam passed between them. Run! Dane shouted. They sprinted through the tunnel, footsteps echoing. Behind them, a tall figure followed in silence. Not Zerinthian, not human. Something else. It moved like smoke and shadow. Dane turned and fired. The bullets passed through air. Kira screamed. Meanwhile, back in the royal chambers, Ziri stood at the balcony holding her father's message. The stars above twinkled like secrets. She didn't feel like a leader. She didn't feel strong. But something in her heart, small but growing, whispered, "If you run now, you'll always be running. If you stand, maybe they'll follow." She heard footsteps behind her. "Dane?" she asked. No answer. She turned, but it wasn't Dane. It was one of the palace guards, eyes glowing red, and in his hand was a dagger of dark crystal. Ziri backed away, heart pounding. But just as the blade came down, bang! A flash of light. The guard fell, smoke rising from his chest. Dane stood at the door, rifle in hand, breathing hard. His armor was torn. Blood ran down his face. Kira leaned against the wall. "Hurt but alive, you okay?" he asked Ziri. She nodded slowly, too shocked to speak. Dane looked at the fallen guard. "That was no ordinary man," he muttered. "That was a shade, a shapeshifter from the outer rim. Whoever sent him has serious connections." Ziri gripped the dagger the shade had dropped. It pulsed with strange energy. "This wasn't just about power," she said. "It's about something more." Dane met her eyes. "Then we better find out what before they come back." The palace gates had never been closed so tightly. Energy shields buzzed. Sky guards circled overhead. Elite patrol units stood with weapons drawn, scanning every corner, every shadow. But Princess Ziri knew the real danger wasn't outside. It was already inside. The Shade assassin's body had disappeared before the royal doctors could study it. Melted to smoke and ash, like it was never there. Only the black dagger remained. It pulsed faint and cold on Ziri's desk. "Energy signature is alien," Dane said, scanning it with a hand device. "But not just alien, forbidden. This kind of tech was banned after the border wars." Ziri looked up. "So how did it get in my room?" Dane didn't answer. He didn't need to. They both knew the truth. Someone inside the palace was working with the enemy. Later that night, the council summoned Ziri for a private meeting. No guards, no advisors, just her and the 13 most powerful beings in her kingdom. The chamber was circular, lit by floating flames. The air smelled like old secrets. Lord Vexer stood tall, hands behind his back. His voice was calm, too calm. "Your Highness," he began, "we have spoken at length. The council agrees that you are not yet ready." Ziri narrowed her eyes. "The law says the crown passes to me, no matter my size, no matter my age." Lady, Irix leaned forward. "We do not question your blood, Princess, only your safety, and the safety of the Empire. A second assassin could strike any time." Ziri stood taller. "You're not protecting me, you're protecting your power." A few council members looked away. Lord Vexer's smile faded. "You speak boldly, perhaps too boldly." Ziri's voice didn't shake. "My father trusted me, and he trusted Dane Carter. I won't step aside." That's when Lord Vexer made his move. "We have evidence," he said coldly, "that the assassin was brought here by a human ship." Ziri's heart skipped. "What? Not a Zorinthian craft, not an internal threat, human, and this same human is now your personal bodyguard?" A hologram appeared. It showed a fuzzy image of a small shuttle entering orbit before the funeral, with Earth markings. Vexer smiled again. "Tell me, Princess, are you sure he didn't let the assassin in?" That evening, Ziri returned to her chambers in silence. Dane was there, arms crossed, watching the shadows. She didn't speak, just handed him the council's data crystal. He played it, watched the shuttle footage, read the council's words. When he looked up, he saw something in her face that hurt more than any weapon. Doubt. "You think it could be me?" he asked quietly. "I don't know what to think," Ziri said. "I want to trust you, but everything is falling apart. I don't even know who I am without him. Don't say that. Ziri froze. You're Princess Ziri of House Orval, Dane said. You survived an assassin. You faced a room full of liars and didn't flinch. You're more than what they see. But what if I fail? She whispered. Then fail fighting. Later that night, Dane contacted Kira again. They met in the old tunnels beneath the garden, where signal jammers kept them off the grid. Vexor's playing a long game, Dane said, feeding the council fake data, planting seeds of doubt. He wants the throne. Kira handed him a chip. Then this will burn him. What is it? Communication logs. Vexor sent encrypted messages to an old colony, Cordath 6. You know what's on Cordath 6? Dane raised an eyebrow. No one. It was abandoned after the Shade War. Exactly. So why is he talking to ghosts? Dane slid the chip into his device. Messages opened, all signed with Vexor's personal encryption code. One line chilled him. The girl is weak. She'll break. The human can be framed or killed. The throne will be ours. He looked up. We need to get this to Ziri. Kira frowned. There's more. The dagger left behind. It was laced with neurocode. Not meant to kill. What do you mean? I mean, it was meant to infect. Back in her room, Ziri stared at her hand. It had touched the dagger hours ago. Now she saw veins beneath her skin glowing faint blue. She felt colder, distant, like something was inside her. She stumbled to the mirror. Her pupils flickered. Then a voice, soft, hissing, echoed in her mind. Weak, little queen. Give up the crown, or we will take more than your throne. She fell to the floor. Suddenly, Dane burst in, Kira close behind. Ziri, she gasped, gripping her head. It's in me. Kira scanned her quickly. It's a psychic parasite. The dagger was infected. It's not just tech, it's living. A Shade Queen seed. They use it to control targets from afar. Dane's fist clenched. Vexor knew. That's why the assassin didn't aim to kill. He wanted to turn her, Kira said. Ziri stood slowly, her voice stronger now. Then I have to fight it. I have to fight him. Dane looked at her surprised. Even now? I don't have time to be scared, she said. I have to claim the throne before he claims me. She reached for the ceremonial armor once worn by her mother. Light, but strong. She clipped the badge of House Orval to her chest. No more waiting, Ziri said. Tomorrow I speak to the people, and if the council tries to stop me... Her eyes narrowed. They'll see what happens when they push a tiny queen too far. Morning broke over the capital of Zarenth Prime. For the first time in 2 weeks, the palace gates opened to the public. Guards lined the plaza. Drones buzzed above, recording every second. Reporters, nobles, commoners, millions had gathered to hear Princess Ziri speak. No one had seen her since the assassination attempt. Rumors were everywhere. Some said she was dead. Others whispered that she had run away, that the council had taken over in secret. But then, the balcony doors creaked open, and there she stood. Small, barely 4 feet tall, wrapped in ceremonial armor, the crown of her late father shining on her brow. The crowd fell silent. Even the sky seemed to pause. Ziri stepped to the edge and spoke. I know what you think when you look at me, she said, voice steady but soft. You see someone too small, too young, too weak. Her eyes scanned the crowd. I have heard the whispers. She's not ready. She should step aside. The throne is too big for her. She took a breath. Maybe you're right. Gasps rippled across the plaza. Behind her, Councillor Vexor allowed himself a small smile. But, Ziri said louder, if I must be small, then I will be sharp. If I must be young, then I will be bold. And if I must be weak... She raised the black shade, dagger above her head. Then let my enemies see what happens when you push the weak too far. A shockwave of whispers and shouts spread across the plaza. Reporters pushed forward. Nobles leaned in. "The shades are back," Ziri declared. "They came for me. They infected me. But I am still here." She slammed the dagger down onto the platform. It shattered into blue smoke and sparks. "I will not run. I will not hide. I claim my right to rule. Today. Now. And if anyone wants to stop me—" Her voice dropped to a dangerous whisper. "They can try." The plaza erupted. Cheers, screams, cries of support. For the first time, they saw more than a small girl. They saw a queen, but inside the palace, Vexor's smile had vanished. He turned away from the balcony and stormed down the golden hallway. "Bring in Subject Delta," he snapped. His guard hesitated. "But, sir, the subject is still—" "I said bring him." In a hidden chamber deep beneath the palace, metal doors hissed open. Inside, Subject Delta, an enormous humanoid figure in stasis. His body was scarred with cybernetics. His eyes glowed green. Vexor approached the pod. "Plan A failed," he muttered. "The people believe her. Time for Plan B." He pressed his palm to the control panel. Green light flared. The pod hissed. Subject Delta's eyes opened, and he smiled. Meanwhile, back in her private chamber, Ziri collapsed into a chair. "I think I'm going to throw up," she muttered. Dane Carter laughed. "Could have fooled me. You looked like a warrior out there." "I felt like I was going to faint the whole time," she admitted. He knelt beside her. "You were brilliant. That dagger bit, that was power." Ziri touched her temples. "But it's still inside me. I can feel it, like shadows crawling under my skin." Kira, the rogue data agent, looked up from her scanner. "The infections slowed but not gone. Whatever shade parasite was in that dagger, it wants control. It's learning. Watching you." Ziri shivered. "Can we remove it?" Kira hesitated. "Maybe. There's an old archive hidden in the outer moon sector. Vaults from the Shade War, they might have records on anti-neural tech. But the moons are under quarantine," Dane said. "No ships in or out." Kira smirked. "Unless you've got a stolen key code and a stealth shuttle." Ziri stood. "Then we go tonight." That night, under cover of the palace gardens, Dane, Kira, and Ziri boarded the stealth ship. They blasted into orbit and angled toward the broken moon, Zethex 3. It was a graveyard of old war tech. Massive. Towers half buried in space rock, broken ships frozen in orbit, and ancient satellite husks spinning slowly. Ziri stared out the window. "My father never let me come here, said it was cursed." Dane tapped the controls. He was right. "This place gives me the creeps." They landed near a collapsed bunker marked with old warning signs. Inside, the air was thick and cold. Kira's scanner beeped. "There, that chamber." They passed rows of rusted machines, broken stasis tanks, cryptic writing on the walls. Inside a sealed vault, they found it, a neural purger. "Built to extract shade parasites," Kira whispered. "But there's a catch," Ziri already knew. "It could kill me." They activated the device. Ziri sat inside the glass chamber. Dane stood beside her, fists clenched. "You sure?" he asked. Ziri looked at him. "I'd rather die free than live as someone's puppet." He didn't argue. The chamber lit up. Tendrils of light surrounded her head. A deep hum filled the room. Ziri screamed. Inside her mind, the shade parasite fought back. "You cannot win," it hissed. "You are alone, weak. No one will follow you." But then, she saw Dane outside the glass, kneeling, his hand pressed to the wall. "You're not alone," he said. "I'm right here." Ziri's eyes opened, and she pushed back. The light exploded. Ziri flew backward. Dane caught her. She gasped, her body shaking. But the blue glow in her veins was gone. Kira checked the scanner. "It's out. You did it." Ziri smiled weakly. "Good, because we're going back." But as they returned to orbit, something strange happened. Their ship's alarms blared. A massive vessel appeared, unmarked, ancient, and fast. It fired a warning shot. Kira shouted, "We've been tracked." Ziri turned pale. "That's not a shade ship. It's Vexor's." Back at the palace, Vexer stood before the council. Princess Ziri has fled to forbidden zones, he declared. She has broken quarantine, stolen military tech, and is infected with alien parasites. He held up a forged video. The council gasped. She is unfit to rule. I call for a full lockdown and immediate transfer of power to me as regent. The vote passed, and Vexer smiled. The stars blurred into streaks as their stolen stealth ship darted across the black. Ziri gripped the seat. Kira was flipping switches, sweating. We've got a tail. That ship behind us? It's got pulse locks. One hit and we're space dust. Dane looked out the viewport. And it's gaining. The enemy vessel, Vexer's personal war cruiser, cut through space like a black arrow. Every second it grew closer. Inside, Subject Delta stood at the helm. His eyes were bright green, his voice cold. Princess Ziri, orders are to bring you in, dead if necessary. The stealth ship dove into the dense debris field orbiting Zythex 3. Hold on, Kira shouted. I'm flying blind here. Chunks of old warships, mines, and broken satellites spun past. Sparks lit the dark. The whole ship rattled. Behind them, the war cruiser opened fire. Boom! The stealth ship jerked hard. Ziri hit her head against the console. Blood trickled down her cheek. Shields are down. We can't outrun them, Dane said. We need a distraction. Kira turned to him. Then do something crazy. You're good at that. Dane grinned, stood, and ran to the back of the ship. What are you doing? Ziri called. But Dane had already suited up, grabbed the manual override pack and opened the back hatch. He jumped. In 0G, Dane flew across the debris field with only a magnet hook and one goal: reach the power node on the side of the war cruiser. 1. Wrong move and he'd float forever into the void. As he latched onto the enemy ship's hull, Subject Delta sensed him. Uninvited guest, Delta whispered. He sent a shock pulse through the outer hull. The panel under Dane's feet exploded. Dane was thrown into a tumbling spin. Come on, he muttered, realigning himself. Don't die now, Carter. He fired the hook again and slammed against the emergency port. With a quick cut, he opened a small panel and inserted the overload chip. Boom. The war cruiser lights flickered. Engines died. Ziri's ship escaped into hyperspace. Back on Zarinth Prime, Vexer now sat on the throne. The council hall had been transformed. Soldiers in black armor stood guard. Reporters were banned. Only pre-written statements were allowed. All must remain calm, Vexer said through the system-wide broadcast. Princess Ziri is unwell. She has chosen exile. I am your new regent, until further notice. But some weren't convinced. Across the outer colonies, protests began. Graffiti showed Ziri's face with glowing wings. People whispered her name like a symbol, the tiny queen who fought back. Vexer saw it all and ordered it erased. Meanwhile, Ziri, Kira, and Dane, barely conscious after his space stunt, landed on an abandoned mining colony on Varnak 6. Inside an old communication tower, Kira tapped into the rebel networks. We've got allies, she said. But not many. Vexer's controlling all the news, and worse. She turned the screen. Footage played of Dane in a military uniform. Ziri's eyes widened. He was a shade project, Kira said. Part of the early human experiment alliances, before the war ended. That's why he was on Zarinth. That's why he wasn't officially on any record. He was placed here. Ziri turned to him. Is that true? Dane sat up, weak but alert. It was real, he said. Yes. I was created to be a hybrid soldier, but I escaped them. I broke the link. I chose to protect you. You lied to me, Ziri whispered. No, he said, eyes steady. I saved you. Kira interrupted. Look, I don't care if you're part toaster. We've got a bigger problem. She pulled up a transmission. A deep humming signal played. Alien tones. Repeating, slow and cold. Ziri shivered. I know that sound, she said. I heard it in my dreams, when the parasite was inside me. It's not a dream, Kira said. That signal, it's coming from deep space. It's a call. Dane's face darkened. They're waking up. Far across the galaxy in a silent black region of uncharted space, something stirred. A vast organism, half flesh, half machine, opened its many eyes. The Shade Queen. Her body was miles long. Around her, her swarm waited, dormant but ready. Her voice echoed across the dark. The traitor child escaped us, but she led us to a new world, a rich, warm world, full of minds to feed on. Earth. And her swarm began to move. Back on Varnak 6, Ziri looked at the star map. She tapped. Earth, they'll go for it. They know Dane's origin. They know humans. Kira nodded. Earth's defenses are weak, and they won't expect alien parasites coming. Ziri stood. Then we go there. We warn them. We fight with them. Dane groaned. You really want to bring your war to another world? Ziri looked at him. I don't have a throne anymore, but I still have a voice, and if Earth falls, we all do. Kira added. Then we'd better move fast. Vexor's locking the wormhole gates. We'll need a special crystal to punch through. Dane raised an eyebrow. Where? Kira's eyes gleamed. The old Imperial Vault, inside the palace. That night on Zerinth Prime, a group of rebels sneaked through underground tunnels. Kira led them. Zeri followed close behind, hood pulled low. Dane, now wearing modified shade armor, walked silently beside her. They climbed into the palace from below, reaching the lower vaults. Security's tighter than ever, Dane whispered. Ziri nodded. Then let's be quieter than ever. They reached the vault. Inside it shimmered, row upon row of forbidden tech alien weapons and power crystals. Kira located the Tesseract crystal, the one they needed to bend space and escape to Earth. But just as she reached it, boom, a flash of green light. The wall exploded. Subject Delta entered. Bigger than before, half metal, his voice growled with shade code. You're not getting out this time. Ziri pulled her knife. Dane stepped forward. I'll hold him off. Get the crystal. Go! No! Ziri shouted. You'll die! Dane smiled. That's not new. As Delta lunged, Dane met him in a brutal clash of fists and steel. Blades slashed. Sparks flew. The room shook. Ziri dove toward the crystal. Kira grabbed her arm. We've got what we need. Move! They ran. Behind them, Dane was bleeding, but still fighting. Earth orbit. 2 days later. The stolen Zerinthian shuttle broke through the edge of Earth's atmosphere, blazing like a shooting star. Inside, Princess Ziri gripped the flight controls. Beside her, Kira adjusted the navigation systems, trying to sync their alien ship with Earth's primitive satellites. The screen blinked erratically. Earth military's on high alert, Kira muttered. They're calling us a threat. Ziri looked out at the beautiful blue and green planet below. They won't trust us. They don't have to, Kira replied. We're not asking. Washington, D.C., Earth Defense Headquarters. General Marcus Hayes stormed into the command room. On every screen, strange objects had appeared over major cities. New York, Cairo, Tokyo, Rio. Satellite feeds showed black pods slowly falling from orbit, landing like seeds from the sky. Talk to me, Hayes barked. What are we dealing with? An analyst spun his chair. They came out of nowhere. No heat signature, no propulsion system, just falling. Then what? We lost contact with the New York site, then Tokyo, then Mumbai. Static replaced the screens. Hayes clenched his jaw. Sound the global alarm. A red siren wailed across the room. This is not a drill. Somewhere in the Nevada desert, Ziri's ship crash-landed in a restricted zone. U.S. fighter jets had shot at them on entry. Kira pulled Ziri from the wreckage. They're coming, and not to welcome us. Helicopters buzzed overhead. Soldiers surrounded them, guns raised. Ziri didn't move. She lifted her hands. I am Princess Ziri of Zerinth Prime, she said, loud and clear. Earth is in danger. Not from me, but from what follows. A soldier stepped forward, pointing his rifle. On the ground, Now, Ziri didn't flinch. Then shoot me. But when the sky breaks open, you'll wish you had listened. Boom. The ground shook. In the distance, black tendrils erupted from the sand. One of the alien pods had opened. Something crawled out. 7 legs, no eyes, and hundreds of tiny, twitching fingers where a mouth should be. The soldiers opened fire. Bullets barely scratched it. The shade had arrived. Ziri acted fast. She activated her armband and a pulse wave knocked the creature back. The soldiers stared. She turned to them. That was just a scout. There are thousands more coming. One young officer muttered, "She's not lying." Inside the Pentagon, emergency meeting Ziri and Kira were brought before top Earth leaders. Generals, scientists, diplomats. Tension crackled in the air. "You expect us to believe alien parasites are attacking Earth because of you?" One ambassador snapped. Ziri stood tall, her 4-foot frame steady as stone. "Not because of me, because of Vexer and because of fear." She pointed to the screen behind them. Footage of her home planet being taken over by shade vines, citizens enslaved by mind control, and towers bursting with black spores. "This is what comes next," she said. The room fell silent. General Hayes finally asked, "And how do we fight it?" Ziri looked at Kira. "We need to find a man named Dane Carter. He's the only one who knows how to destroy their core." Hayes frowned. "Carter? We got a transmission an hour ago. A half-dead man in shade armor walked into one of our Antarctic stations." Ziri's heart jumped. "He's alive?" "Barely. Antarctica Research Base. 6 hours later." The wind screamed across the frozen cliffs. Ziri stepped off the transport ship and ran through the snow toward the medical dome. Inside, Dane Carter lay in a recovery pod. His body was burned, covered in scars. His arm, now fully replaced with biotech. He opened one eye. "Hey, kid," he croaked. "You made it." Ziri reached for his hand. "You saved us." He laughed weakly. "That's kinda my thing." Kira wiped her eyes. "Don't get mushy. We've got a planet to save." 2 days later, battle prep begins. With Ziri's help, Earth's armies began combining their tech with Zerinthian designs. The Earth-Zarinth Alliance was born, laser shields, EMP drones, parasite scanners, and something even more powerful. The Alpha Core Bomb based on shade energy, but modified to disrupt their hive mind. Ziri looked at it and said, "This is our last card." Dane, now recovered enough to walk with his metal leg, added, "Then let's make it count." But there was one problem. The Shade Queen wasn't on Earth. She was hiding behind Jupiter's moon, sending commands from afar. To end it, they'd have to go to her. The final plan: Ziri, Dane, Kira, and a squad of elite fighters would launch a stealth strike mission to Callisto, where the Shade Queen's ship was anchored. Meanwhile, Earth's united military would hold off the horde on the ground. "Are we ready for this?" Kira asked the night before launch. Ziri looked up at the stars. "No. But that never stopped us before." Launch day. Earth orbit. As the fleet prepared for takeoff, a video feed lit up every ship's monitor. It was Vexer. His face, sharp and cold, filled the screen. "To the people of Earth, the parasites were only the beginning. I offer you salvation. Join my empire, serve the shade, and your world will be spared. Refuse, and you will burn." Then he smiled, and the message ended. Ziri stared at the dark screen. "This ends with me and him," she whispered. Dane loaded his weapon. "Then let's finish it." Deep space, near Callisto, Jupiter's moon. Their ship spun, engines sputtering, as the Shade fleet closed in. Outside the window, the darkness of space flickered with green fire from alien cannons. Inside, alarm screamed. Dane Carter gripped the ship's controls, blood dripping from a cut above his eyebrow. "We're hit. Bad." Kira was already in the rear chamber, trying to reroute power. "Shield generators fried. We've got 5 minutes before we're space dust." Princess Ziri didn't flinch. She stepped forward, calm in the chaos. "We finish what we started?" She looked at the main screen. Through the darkness, the massive Shade Queen's command ship floated near Callisto's orbit. It looked like a black cathedral built of bones pulsing like a heartbeat. The final battle had begun. On board the Shade mothership, subject Delta waits. His body no longer resembled a man, 8 feet tall, arms that split into tendrils, glowing, veins of green acid and eyes, too many, all watching the stars, but inside part of Dane Carter still lived inside that beast. She's coming, Delta muttered. The girl, the throne. All of it ends tonight. Behind him, Vexor stepped from the shadows. Do not fail again, Delta snarled. You turned me into a monster. Let me be one. Back on Ziri's ship plan? Kira asked, loading her plasma rifle. Ziri pulled a strange crystal from her belt, a Zarinthian keystone, the last one left from her home planet. This opens the Queen's chamber, but we have to get past the entire Shade fleet to use it. Dane cracked his knuckles. We cause a distraction. Kira raised an eyebrow. You volunteering? I always volunteer for the suicide jobs, he smirked. Ziri put her hand on his shoulder. We do this together. All of us. Phase 1. The suicide run. Their ship rocketed toward the mothership. Immediately, 3 Shade fighters peeled. Off to intercept, Kira spun the ship. Dane fired the rear cannons. Boom. Boom. One down. But the other 2 crashed into their side wings. Sparks exploded inside. We're not going to make it, Kira shouted. We will, Ziri whispered. She pushed the Zarinthian stone into the console. Suddenly, white light burst from their ship. For a moment, everything paused. The Shade ships pulled back, confused. Kira gasped. They're afraid. The Queen fears her own weapon, Ziri said. Let's use that. Phase 2. Breach. They slammed the half-burning ship into the Queen's mothership. Metal tore. Smoke filled the halls. Blasters ready, the trio stormed inside. Every hallway was alive. Walls pulsed, ceilings dripped. It wasn't just a ship, it was living. Stay close, Dane warned. This place feeds on fear. Suddenly, a figure dropped. From the ceiling. Subject Delta. Dane lunged, crashing into him. They rolled down a long corridor, slamming into walls. Metal groaned. Kira yelled, Dane, go, he shouted. Find the Queen. Ziri hesitated, then nodded. She and Kira ran ahead deeper into the hive, leaving Dane behind with the monster he once was. The duel, man versus monster Dane, fought with all he had. Delta's tendrils lashed out, cutting across his armor. Blood sprayed. Dane jammed a shock rod into Delta's chest. Screech. Delta screamed, throwing him across the hall. Still so weak, Delta growled. Dane stood, wiped his mouth. Yeah? But I'm the weak one who keeps getting back up. He pulled a grenade. Want to see a human trick? Queen's chamber. Final showdown. Ziri and Kira burst into the throne room. There she was, the Shade Queen. Not quite alive. Not quite dead. A floating mass of vines, eyes, and echoes of voices, all whispering doubts, fears, and nightmares. So small, the Queen said. So pathetic. Ziri stepped forward, chest out. I was small before. Not anymore. She held the keystone high. The Queen laughed. Your planet is ash. Your people are shadows. You think you can stop me? Ziri smiled. No, I know I can. Behind her, Kira activated the Alpha Core bomb. It hummed, charging. The Queen roared, lunging. Ziri threw the stone. It hit the Queen's heart. Light exploded. The room shook. The whispers turned to screams. Meanwhile, Dane's last stand. Dane pinned Delta against a wall. I was dead once already, he grunted. But I never stopped protecting her. Delta laughed. You're nothing. Wrong. I'm human. Boom. He pulled the pin. The hallway exploded. Back in the throne room, the Queen screeched, her body unraveling in the light. Ziri screamed. Her veins lit up as the keystone's power flowed through her. Kira grabbed her. Ziri, let go. I have to end this. Above Earth, The sky clear's shade ships lost power. Parasites dropped. Vines withered. Across the world, humanity watched as the sky, once dark, filled with light. The shade were dying. 1 hour later, debris field over Callisto Kira crawled out of the ruined chamber. She looked around. Bodies, smoke, silence. Then, movement. Ziri rose from the rubble. Her armor cracked, eyes glowing faint blue. "Is it over?" Kira asked, coughing. Ziri nodded slowly. Then she looked at the crumbled wall behind them. No. A hand reached out. Burned. Scarred. Dane. Still alive. Kira ran to help him up. "You, crazy old man," she whispered. He grinned. "You're welcome." Epilogue. 1 month later. Earth. United Nations Assembly. All nations gathered. The room fell silent as a tiny figure walked to the podium. Princess Zairi, now Queen Zairi of the Zarinthian remnant, stood tall. "My planet fell. My people were hunted. And still we survived. Together, with humans, we stood against the darkness." She looked down at Dane and Kira. "Size doesn't make a queen. Courage does." The room exploded with applause. Final scene. A new Dawn Ziri stood on a balcony overlooking Earth. Dane joined her. "You ready for what comes next?" She smiled. "Ruling a shattered galaxy? Bringing peace between species? Rebuilding 2 worlds?" He raised an eyebrow. "That all?" She laughed. Then her face turned serious. "Promise me something. Anything. If the darkness ever returns." He nodded. "I'll be there." Together they looked up. The stars were calling again, but this time the crown didn't sit heavy on a small girl's head. This time, a queen wore it with fire. The end.